in the street, they call it murder.
I've ridden solo before, to Mysore, Chikmagalur, Mangalore and many other places. So I don't know why Goa felt any different. I'd been planning this ride for a long time. The bike was finally ready and I had just quit my job. For the first time in many years, I finally had the time. My wife, who saw me sitting at home bored, said, just go. But I wanted company, so I called an old schoolmate. And he asked me just one question. Do you not have the balls to ride alone? And that was it. I packed my bags. The plan was impromptu. By the time I left my home in Bangalore, it was around 9 in the morning. The roads till Chitradurga were good, and that's when I decided to head to Gokarna first. I took a wrong turn, courtesy Google Maps, which took me through some terrible roads. By the time the roads got better again, the sun was starting to set, and then it started to pour. I lost time because I couldn't even unpack my rain gear. By the time I got started again, the sun had already set, and I was climbing the ghats towards the beaches of Gokarna. It was pitch black by then, with fog everywhere. Exhausted and in a hurry to reach, I almost T-boned a buffalo standing right in the middle of the road. A black animal on a black night filled with fog. My fancy LED lights were absolutely useless. Luckily, I saw it at the last minute and I managed to stop, all thanks to the new Vredesteins and the Brembos. That woke me up. I reached the hotel parking lot, parked, unpacked in complete darkness, and called the reception so that they could send somebody to help me. I then had to trek downhill on wet and slippery rocks and stones in the night with riding boots and full riding gear in the rain. That itself was a feat. That's my first view of the beach since I left Bangalore, and my first beer on the beach in Gokarna. I woke up the next day and I got my first proper view of Kudle Beach. After hanging out at Kudle Beach for a bit, I decided to fulfill the purpose of the ride by heading straight into Goa. My next stop was Palolem. My schoolmate Emmanuel, or GoodVibePaulie on YouTube, the same guy who pushed me to ride out solo, sorted out my stay there and gave me some tips on where to go since he used to frequently shuttle between Goa and Bangalore on his Z900. It rained a lot in Palolem, but I caught some incredible sunsets. One night, it poured heavily, everything was shut, and I was starving. The next morning, I bought some provisions and started cooking my own breakfast and dinner. This was a solo budget trip. And that's when it started to feel like a reset. Not luxury, not escape, just simplicity. Just outside Palolem, I found a quiet stretch by the Galgibaga River, a beach that was pristine, wooded, and almost empty. Probably one of the best beaches I've been to. I spent a day there at Surya's, eating his fresh food, swimming. And just slowing things down. But before I knew it, it was time to move on. I headed north from Palolem to meet my old friend David Menezes. 18 years ago, David and me had ridden down to Goa from Bangalore on his yellow Charisma. We rode through the thick jungles of the Agumbe Ghats in the middle of the night. Of course, we were young, dumb, and full of you know what. That's a memory that still gives both of us goosebumps. And that ride was frantic. This one felt very different. David and his wife Nicole run a beautiful homestay called Casa Menezes, a 400-year-old Portuguese bungalow in Batim, Velha Goa. David spent years restoring it, brick by brick, beam by beam. It's not just a house. It's history, still alive. When I called David, he said, "Come home. Leave your bags here and go wherever you want." So I reached Casa Menezes and stayed much longer than I planned. If you want to truly understand Goa, its culture, its cuisine, its history, and the stories behind every nook and corner in the state, David is your guy. He's taught me a huge amount of what I know about the former capital of the Portuguese Empire in the East. An encyclopedia on two legs, quick on 2 and 4 wheels, David is the sweet patrao who can sort your scene in Goa. It kept raining for the first week or two, so I slowed down. I explored Old Goa. I took a ferry to Divar Island. I explored Fontainhas, Panjim, Pilar, and Chandor. I crossed the Zuari and the Mandovi more times than I can count. I rode ferries. Wandered through quiet lanes. Sat in old churches. Explored museums. I spent hours reading, listening, and experiencing stories about Goa's past, from ancient petroglyphs to empires that came and went. I hung out with David, his family, and friends, met new people, and reconnected with old ones. I bar hopped.
Oh my darling, you are wonderful tonight.
Ate street food. And discovered small places I would have never noticed before.
So in this world here, what's your name? What's your name?
I also found my new staple drink: gin, tonic, cucumber mash, lime, and of course, H2O. This wasn't tourism anymore. I wasn't visiting Goa, I was living in it. And somewhere in that rhythm, my reset was in full flow. From Casa Menezes, I started riding further north to the old forts of Reis Magos, Aguada, and Chapora. Since I was on the Interceptor, I made the customary pilgrimage to the Royal Enfield Cafe in Arpora. I even went to Curly's for old time's sake and stayed there for all of 5 minutes. I then met Bangalore boys Patrick and Akshay at homemade fish curry rice in Anjuna, my favorite lunch spot in the north. Shout out to Tariq Merchant for all the great recommendations, including this. Pat and Cap took me to a spot on the beach to try out some cool toys. Basically, electric rideables brought in by Stoke India. Stoke offers premium electric water and land-based experiences, including jet boarding and e-foiling. As the sun set, the place turned into a private Halloween party.
And it bounces with the beats as well, don't
Meeting new people, having fun, sweating, dancing, stomping on the beach sand all night. That hits different. Shout out to Alden, Yash and Lakshmi for an amazing time. Another evening, Pat took me to this cool biker bar by the Chapora River. We caught the sunset and I had some of the best gin cocktails I've ever tasted. I stayed in Vagator for a bit, hung out around Sioli and Chapora. Then crossed the river, heading further up north. Morjim, Mandrem, Ashwem, Arambol, and eventually Dunes. Dunes has been my haunt since I discovered it way back in 2009-10, and I've been returning ever since. This is what Reset actually looks like. Here's a clip of me walking from the beach through the property back to my room. Okay, so we're recording after I'm just leaving for Mandrem. This is the new mount on the GoPro. I hope the angles are good. I was here for the last 2 nights, 3 days, 2 nights. I'm now heading back towards Vagatore. We're going to be crossing the Chicalim Bridge. I've ridden solo before, so I don't know why I doubted myself this time. Maybe because this wasn't just a ride. It was weeks that turned into a month and more. Unstructured days. No deadlines. Somewhere between the rain in Gokarna, the sunsets in Morjim, the quiet mornings at Casa Menezes, the bustling afternoons in Panjim and Porvorim, and long days exploring Old Goa. I realized something. I don't just like riding solo. I need it. No compromises. No adjusting pace. No waiting. It's just me, my motorcycle, and the road. I didn't need company. I just needed a reminder that sometimes the best journeys are taken alone. As long as I have a little help from my friends. I'm not to sing out of key. Yeah. Oh baby, how you like?